The first story today is, of course, the major blow that Julian Assange, by ruling of the UK High Court, can be extradited to the United States. So I'll get into all what that means and the potential appeals and all that after. But just want to break down what happened here. After Joe Biden became president, the UK appealed the decision that was made by the UK District Court that Julian Assange could not be extradited to the United States because of the conditions of the US prison system and how brutal it is, and that Julian Assange had autism, and that those two factors combined would make it very likely that he would commit suicide, not by voluntary choice, but by a result of him having autism and being in a torture prison system, like that is often the case in the United States. It would make it likely that he would kill himself, and for that reason, the UK could then not extradite Julian Assange to the United States. Again, under the Biden administration, Merrick Garland appeals this. He's the attorney general, and the U.S. made several arguments in that for that appeal, but the only grounds that the High Court allowed the U.S. to appeal on was that the judge made incorrect decisions regarding assessing how likely it would be that Julian Assange's autism would call him to commit suicide, and so they really went after one of the expert witnesses and psychiatrists that evaluated Julian Assange, saying that he made incorrect evaluations. And then they also argued that the U.S. should have, or that the UK district judge should have, brought this to the United States and said, look, I'm really concerned, and my concern is just, not they broke the law, but rather this, conditions in the U.S. prisons. And then the U.S. will have offered assurances, and since the U.S. has offered assurances, and so for that reason, the appeal should stand, and you should allow the extradition of Julian Assange. And so that's the argument that happened. There are a total of 5 grounds for appeal, 3 dealing with, the assessment of if he was likely to commit suicide, and then 2 dealing with the assurances and the guarantees from the U.S. So the UK High Court ruled that Assange could be extradited based on the 2 assurance grounds that the U.S. says that Assange will not be put in special administration measures. Those are SAMs. I think those are essentially the conditions that he's currently living in the UK, in the Belmarsh High Security Prison that's been called Britain's Gitmo and stuff like that. If you look at prisons from pictures from inside the prison, I can't imagine living in such a horrific place like that. He's not getting to spend very much time outside. His outside time, the half hour a day he should get outside of his cell, is arbitrarily taken away from him. He's, of course, suffering from a lot of health conditions, and I'll talk more about that in just a little bit. So, on those grounds, the UK grants the U.S. the appeal. And Assange, at this point, if Assange's legal team did nothing, I believe the decision would then go to the UK foreign minister's office somewhere in there, and they would have to authorize the extradition, which I think everybody assumes would be a rubber stamp, and then Julian Assange at whatever point would be picked up by the U.S. and sent off. Now, the UK High Court is not the UK Supreme Court. There is a court above the High Court, and so the Assange team does have grounds and will, I guess, appeal. Now, the question I guess I have is, where can Assange's team appeal? Let's say that they want to appeal the initial decision that Assange broke the law and that the, district judge made incorrect assessments when regarding X, Y, and Z witness testimony, something like the arguments the U.S. made against the, Assange, the ruling that the district judge made. Or if everything now would just go to the Supreme Court, all the appeals that the Assange Assange's legal team would like to make. I'm not sure about how all that is going to play out, but according to Kevin Gustola, there will be an appeal, and so hopefully Assange will be able to get justice. Now, one of the best articles on this, from more of a opinion editorial standpoint than just the facts, is Caitlin Johnstone's "As Fascism Cast Off Its Disguises," and she points out that it's not just that they ruled that Julian Assange could be extradited, but they did this on the day that is the final day of Biden's Summit for Democracy, where of course the U.S. is grandstanding and saying how we need to stand up for human rights around the world, and there's a record number of journalists that are imprisoned, and we have to put an end to this, and all these other horrific things that we need to address. It's UN Human Rights Day that this ruling comes, of course, when you've had UN Special Rapporteur for Torture Nils Melzer explain how the US and UK are in a process using the legal system to torture Julian Assange, and how his case is an example of psychological torture and everything that they're doing to him. The Nobel Prize Committee also handed out 2 Nobel Prizes to journalists on the same day. One was to a Russian propaganda puppet, and the other one, I think, actually condemned Julian Assange when she was asked a question about it. So, these are, the kind of things going on. And, one of the really, I guess, big problems with this is that this ruling comes after it was revealed that the CIA wanted to spy on, did spy on Julian Assange, but actually plotted and thought about killing him, to approve the extradition of Julian Assange to a government that has plotted his death is just a very dark and disturbing thing for the UK government to have done. So that's everything, kind of on the extradition piece of it. One last bit of news on Assange, and this is some bad news, some very dark things. And it's from his fiancée, Stella Moore, so I assume it is correct. And she said that Julian Assange had a mini stroke, so not like blood flow to his brain was stopped for a long period of time, but for a brief period of time it happened. A mini stroke that she thought was brought on by the stress of the U.S. action. I will say, as bad as the physical conditions that he's being kept in, I wouldn't be surprised that that's significantly contributing to if he had this mini stroke, if he's not having the opportunity to get enough exercise and move around and all of that, that could really be adding to, along with the stress. I'm sure, she knows her fiance better than I do, but I'm just saying, that there could be other things. That couldn't just be the stress. But, this is concerning. This did happen in October. And so she didn't, as far as I'm aware, talk about any lingering effects from this. And so, when you first read this, that, he had a stroke, you worry about his health. I'm not quite sure we, have to worry about his health in any acute sense right now, although, it is still a very terrible situation that Julian Assange is being kept in. And you really do, worry that it could kill him at some point here, not too far in the distant future. And again, just, the darkness right now of what you have, where the Western governments that are holding their Summit for Democracy are using their justice system to kill a journalist who has revealed war crimes that those countries committed.